Hi guys, and welcome to my Bible study routine. So today I have my Bible. I have this Bible study template that I made. I have my notebook. I use the front for my notes and the back for my prayer journal, and my pens, obviously. And today I used my laptop because I was recording on my phone, but on a regular basis I use my phone. So the front of this journal is my study for each book of the Bible. So when I read a book, I kind of write down my take from the book, and also I watch the Bible Project videos on each of the books that I read. So I have read Esther, I've read Ruth, I've read Jonah, I've read the story of Samson, and I've also read the story of Noah. I think those are the only ones that I've read so far. So yeah, the back of it I use for my prayer journal. So before my Bible study every day, I kind of just I write down what's on my mind so that I'm not thinking about a lot of things when I am studying the Bible. So yeah, that is what we are going to do now. After I'm done writing in my prayer journal, I usually have already picked the book that I'm going to read. So today it's Acts chapter 21 verse 27 to 40. So we are going to read it together. Acts chapter 21 verse 27 to 40. It is the story of Paul. He has just come to Jerusalem. It's been 7 days since he got to Jerusalem, and he is about to get arrested. When 7 days were nearly over, some Jews from the province of Asia saw Paul at the temple. They stirred up the whole crowd and seized him, shouting, "Fellow Israelites, help us! This is the man who teaches everyone everywhere against our people and our law and this place. And besides, he has brought Greeks into the temple and defiled this holy place." They had previously seen Trophimus the Ephesian in the city with Paul and assumed that Paul had brought him into the temple. The whole city was aroused, and the people came running from all directions. Seizing Paul, they dragged him from the temple, and immediately the gates were shut. While they were trying to kill him, news reached the commander of the Roman troops that the whole city of Jerusalem was in an uproar. He at once took some officers and soldiers and ran down to the crowd. When the rioters saw the commander and his soldiers, they stopped beating Paul. The commander came up and arrested him and ordered him to be bound with 2 chains. Then he asked who he was and what he had done. Some in the crowd shouted one thing and some the other. And since the commander could not get at the truth because of the uproar, he ordered that Paul be taken into the barracks. When Paul reached the steps, the violence of the mob was so great he had to be carried by the soldiers. The crowd that followed him kept shouting, "Get rid of him." As the soldiers were about to take Paul into the barracks, he asked the commander, "May I say something to you?" "Do you speak Greek?" he replied. "Aren't you the Egyptian who started a revolt and led 4,000 terrorists out into the wilderness some time ago?" Paul answered, "I am a Jew from Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of no ordinary city. Please let me speak to the people." After receiving the commander's permission, Paul stood on the steps and motioned to the crowd. When they were all silent, he said to them in Aramaic, Brothers and fathers, listen now to my defense. I write in my Bible study guide after I have read the Bible, and I made this on Canva, and I felt like this kind of would encapsulate everything that I would need to write during my Bible study. So it has a section for the date, the book you're reading, the chapter, and the verse, and then right beside it is kind of like a details about whatever you're reading. So there's the main themes. Today's main theme is Paul being arrested. There are keywords. Sometimes I have keywords, sometimes I don't. Like today I did not have any keywords. And then we have the people in the book. So today there is Paul, we have the Jews, and then we have the commander of the Roman troops. Next I have a notes section, and this is where I write my notes. As you can see, I am done with the writing, and next I usually look up commentaries. Not always. Sometimes the Bible verse is very direct, but when I feel like there is something that I'm missing, then I will look at the commentaries. I'll use on my phone. On my phone, I use the Enduring Word app, but you can just search it up. I use the Enduring Word app on my phone, but you can just search it up on your browser. Enduring Word by David Guzik, I think. I hope I'm not butchering his name. And it has a very direct layout. You just pick the chapter you want to, the book, the chapter, and you scroll down to the verse. And I usually just read through the whole entire commentary, and I write down the things that I feel like stick out to me. So that is what I'm going to be doing right now. In the commentaries, it says that Paul was not against the people. He simply rejected trust in any of the biases for righteousness before God, which only comes through Jesus Christ. And so when the people were thinking that Paul was against them and he was preaching against the laws that they were used to, that is not actually what was happening. He was just telling them that the only way to get to God is through Jesus Christ. And the Jews back then, in that time, they were into works a lot. So they lived by works and not by faith. And they thought that the more you do, the greater your chances are for getting into heaven. And Paul was just trying to teach them that the only way to get to heaven is through Jesus Christ. There is no way, however good a person you are, there is no way you're making it to heaven without Jesus Christ in your life. And the next is that Paul had waited a lifetime for the opportunity to speak to the people. He had an incredible passion for the salvation of his fellow Jews, and it took quite a while for everything to play out the way it did, and for Paul to be here and to be preaching the word to the Jews. From this section of Paul's story, we get a lot of similarities between Paul's walk and Jesus's walk. Like a lot of the things that happened to Paul happened to Jesus. And so as followers of Christ, we should not be surprised when we also go through such things in our lives. Like Jesus was persecuted, so when we are persecuted, it's not like a surprise, because obviously the people that are not followers of Christ are not going to agree with everything that you do or say. So find strength in the fact that just as Jesus suffered, Paul also suffered, and we are going to suffer for our faith. God's grace is sufficient for us in our suffering, and we should look back to Him for the strength and for Him to guide us through our suffering. And at the end of every study, I do a prayer to kind of ask God to help me apply what I have learned in my life and every day. So yeah, that is the end of my study. This is what I do every day. This is like the bare minimum for me. I have to do this. Sometimes it's a bit longer, sometimes it's a bit shorter, but yeah, we thank God.